Hi everyone. Happy to welcome you all on the season 2 MOV Leaders episode 7. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic. You will be hearing the terminology mentor everywhere. But how to find a mentor? Do you know that? And how to leverage that association? We are going to talk about that today. To have such a powerful conversation, we need to have such a powerful leader too. Today's guest is having 2 decades of versatile experience in building software products for major global companies. And not only that, she is also a freelance product coach and a startup mentor. And I can talk a lot about her, but I wanted her to do on her own. So without any further delay, let's welcome Malati to the show.
Thank you so much, Scindia, to have me over here.
Hi, Malati. It was my pleasure to host you here. And it's been long due, also, I guess. So, Malati, why don't you talk about yourself and your journey? Because, to be honest, in a light-hearted note, I really can't remember all your achievements. So, I wanted you to go on your own.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, first of all, thanks for having me here. And I'm very excited to talk about a topic which is very, very close to my heart. Talking about my own journey, so I have about like close to 22 years of industry experience, a majority of which was spent when I started my career as a developer, and then I transitioned to become a product manager. And the last 13 years have been spent, a lot on building products, mentoring, setting up teams, um, building new product managers, setting up high performance teams. Now, in my career, I have worked with companies like my last stint was as a director of products with PayPal. Prior to that, I have worked with EMC, I have worked with Intuit, I've spent a lot of my time at SAP Labs India. Um, During while in the as part of my day job, of course, that involved a lot of working with the customers, my teams, a lot of cross functional stakeholders. There was a few things that I started to kind of venture out into. One was the causes related to diversity, and especially women in tech. So I started actively participating in women in tech, things like Grace Hoppers and a lot of other women in tech oriented events during my time at SAP and Intuit. And then I founded Women in Tech chapter in my time during Society General. Um, and that is when I started to lead India diversity, chapters, both during my time at Soggen and Society General, as well as in PayPal. In the last year or so, I've been kind of itching to do something, wherein I can spend more time doing things which I probably always wanted to spend more time on, and that is where I started, my own venture this April. Wherein I started as a product coach and a product consultant, wherein I mentor startups, also as a freelancer and also as part of the NASCOM Deep Tech Club, where I mentor product managers. I have been associated with the NASCOM product skills for the last 3 years, where we kind of build the content, we build the community, the ecosystem. Um, and I have been mentoring deep tech startups as part of NASCOM for the last year or so. And apart from that, I actively coach and mentor product managers, both with B schools as well as part of some of the other, freelance one-on-one startups. So yeah, these are some of the things that I enjoy doing. Beyond doing few things like TSD car rally driving and doing a lot of traveling along with my family and friends.
I think I should have asked the question differently, Malti. I should have asked like what you don't do. So it would have been easy, I guess. So I'm so happy to see someone who wear multiple hats. Someone immediately, another person strikes for me, same from PayPal, Jayashree. So
Mhm.
I was wondering when she told her multiple interests, whatever she does, right? How she finds time. So a lot of people ask me how you are finding time. Sometimes I always tell them, hey, certain guest of show you should see. I sometimes it's unbelievable, right? How 24 hours are okay for you, folks. I don't understand, but that's why we chose you for this topic, Malati, because we need someone, an expert like you, to come and tell people who are aspiring to grow in their career. they are longing to find right mentors. So, first and foremost question, a lot of people talk about how mentorship helps in the career development or personally also, personal development also. But no one exactly guides how to find mentors. So, who are these mentors? Where can we find them?
Sure. I think, in my own journey, I probably did not realize that there was a name called mentorship, but I think I was always
Yeah,
surrounded with
yeah,
a lot of people who were doing that. Right. So, if we just look around, mentors are just all around us. It is in our communities where we live, it is in the workplace where we work, it is probably a lot of people within our family, right? I mean, to whom we lean on for any kind of advice. But since we are kind of talking about a very professional paradigm here, I'll just stick to that. So, mentors could be, if you are really blessed and you have great managers, you'll find a mentor in them. You really don't have to go very far for that. But anybody who inspires you, who role models a lot of different things that you aspire to be when you as you are growing in your career, a different set of things that you would like to do. So anybody who inspires, who kind of emanates those values, who emanates those capabilities, who is doing currently probably that you would want to do in the next few years, I would say those are your role models. And you will be really surprised that when you kind of approach somebody, how people are really willing to spend their time and share on and pay forward those things and become mentors. So to answer your first question, Sandhya, mentors are just all around us. It is just us to figure out that, okay, this is where I feel that I have a gap, this is where I need that guidance, this is the person whom I aspire to do. They have already done that. So why do you want to waste that energy and time to kind of figure it out your own way? Why not ask them for guidance, for help, for coaching, so that you can. I'm not saying you should not repeat those mistakes, because all of us learn from our own mistakes. But definitely there are those huge nuggets of knowledge that you can already adapt. You can make sure that you're not repeating those mistakes and probably doing some new mistakes that you can pass on to your mentees, right? So I would say mentors are just all around us. It is just you need to find out that what is your need, where are your gaps, where are you finding those challenges, and who do you think can help you, can guide you, can give you that advice that you need to, whether it is improving your skill set, whether it is to figuring out how do you make those decisions, to help you to go forward. So it is just all around us, and I would say, not in today's environment where we are becoming a global communities, it is not only in your workplace. It is, as I said, I think the closest could be your manager, the next could be some leaders or peers in your BUs, it could be folks in another BUs, it could be leaders across your organization as a global organization, in a very different team, in a very different geographies. That could be within your workspace. A lot of us today are also going to a lot of different conferences and events, and we are exposed to a lot of different other capable people who have kind of done that and dusted that. Those could be your mentors. Fortunately, now we are kind of getting into a much more closer online communities. So there are these offline and online communities, and there are a lot of these formal and informal mentorship, cohorts that are being kind of set up, where we are kind of getting into a setup where I would say mentorship benefits are kind of being identified, that yes, how important and how critical mentorship is, that will help you to catapult you in your career trajectory, right? So I am actually very happy, from where I probably started to look at things 20 years back versus today. There are so many formal and informal setups both within and outside the organizations, where it is easy for you to identify those pearls and those gems of people who would help you to improve, or probably I would say, who would be able to help you wherever you need help, and can be your mentors.
Great, very well said, Malti. Just to take as action points, I would say, before that, I would want to also call out, like, in my growing journey also, I always thought mentoring is some privilege an organization offers to some high performing individuals. So
I
having a
agree.
mentor itself is privilege. To be honest, I never, though I was performing well, I never got that opportunity to have a close mentor, and I never knew that we ourselves can go and find our own mentors. And that times the communities were less, and there were not enough events talking about these kind of subjects, right? But mostly the events and conferences will be all business related. So today, as you rightly said, first and foremost, a lot of companies have their own mentoring programs. So you can find mentors on your own by interacting with your
Correct.
leaders. And also similarly communities, as you rightly said, that I keep repeating about Shivolve all the time, because Shivolve is such a community. Still I'm meeting great leaders like you often because of that. So communities like Shivolve, especially for women, there are a lot of support communities now for to cope up
Correct.
on various things. That's very important. Also, peer learning is something very, very important, and we can pick up mentoring from peer side also. So it's very, very insightful to know about that. So, on continuation to that, if I have to ask, do we really need to have only one mentor? Right? Is it that necessary? Especially for women, we wear multiple hats, right? So we have to juggle between work, professional, friend. You I recently posted something in LinkedIn also. A normal day for a men can be a very tough day for a woman. It can be one of their excessive bleeding days. It can be one of their newborn can be at home, and you are already under that postnatal depression. Or it can be sleepless night because of someone at family not well, or hormonal disturbance. It could be anything, right? For you to react in a certain way, or you're feeling moody for no reasons, or sometimes you will feel like I'm not doing anything. So much, so different for a woman in that case. And also a lot of stereotypes they have to break. They can't openly discuss this out, because immediately the question will come as, then why you are working, right? It's so tough.
Correct.
Why don't you take a break? That's what people say, right? So most of the times we don't express what we are going through, fearing that they will think that we are incapable of taking up certain responsibilities, or certain this thing. So do we really need only one mentor, or something for IQ, something for EQ, or somebody to guide how to balance both, professional and personal front, or navigating a gender bias? It can be different thing, right? So, uh, in your in your thinking, what do you think? Should we have one mentor, multiple mentors, or how to go about it? If we have multiple mentors, how to prioritize, or how to? Sometimes the views can be different, right? The views can be
Correct.
conflict. So how
Correct.
can we assimilate everything in your view?
Right. No, Sandhya, very well said, right? Especially for women, there are so many different realms that we go through during the day, right? I mean, if we just kind of chart it, we will see that, sometimes from a very high Q space, we will suddenly, by the end of the day, probably we are in a very low EQ state, right? So if you ask me that, I don't think there is anything like how many mentors one should have, right? Because there are always things, especially when we just look around ourselves, uh, there are so many different things that we appreciate in different people, right? And it is never probably possible for one person to embody all the values or all the different things that are brilliant, right? There are different things at different stages of our life. There are different priorities that takes either I would say a toll, or that becomes important, right? For me also personally, there have been days, there have been months wherein work needed me. That means I just needed to focus on that. And there have been times, whether it is due to childbirth or an ailing elder at home, where it needs attention completely at home, right? So in my own personal experiences, and when you talk about the mentorship relationship, there is a huge aspect of becoming vulnerable, because unless you have that trust, right, I mean, with your mentors, you cannot be very genuine about the conversations, right?
True.
And I would say that in my own journey that has evolved, I have found a lot of different mentors in my life who have shown a lot of different strengths, who have emanated a lot of different style of doing things, which I have kind of appreciated, and based on my own needs, I have kind of reached out to them for help. So this is never has been the case where I said that I have only one mentor, because there are so many different things that I would like to learn from different people. So why should I limit myself only to one mentor, right? For example, I remember one of the leaders in my org. I was so much in awe with the assertiveness Because see, typically women, one of the feedback many of us would give is that if you're too loud, you become aggressive, so you need to be much more assertive, right? And I have seen the growth of this lady who used to be a senior product manager to she's a CPO today, in a very big organization. So one of the things I was really in awe with that is the or assertiveness she brought into the room, the decisiveness, the clarity of thoughts that she brought among the people. So if I'm in any point of state where I'm kind of thinking, I would always put that hat. If she would have been here, how would she be thinking? And if I'm still in doubt, if I'm still in confusion, I would always reach out to her, right? There was another leader whom I would always reach out, who is amazing in terms of building her personal brand, who is amazing. You need somebody to do video editing, to you need somebody who can recommend a fantastic coach, career coach. She would have everybody and anybody on her list, right? If you want to learn about somebody who's amazing in terms of being aware of any different kind of topics, what is happening in blockchain, what is happening in this technology, what is happening in the product management realm space, it's a completely a different person. So for me, if I at any point of time need something which is more on the pure, let's say, on the upskilling side, something more on how do I manage this day to day juggle between growing up teenagers, for example, versus managing work. So I have always kind of leaned out and reached out to the different mentors and who have played a huge role in my own growth, both as a person and as a professional. So to answer your question, I think we all kind of definitely need to have different mentors, and I actually want to talk about that. We need not have only women mentors, right? There are huge great male allies, and actually as many as women leaders that I'm in awe with, whom I reach out to be as my mentors. I have found an equal amount of support from my male allies, my male managers, or even leaders, right, whom are more than happy to share their own experiences. And there are always such happy conversations, where we can pick up their guidance, their advice. So I would say definitely one should look at a broader perspective and also identify what are your gaps, where do you think you need the help, and who is probably best suited in order to help you over there. Somebody who has probably done that, dusted that, would be the right person who can probably give you much more pointed advice and guidance, so that you are able to take some very key actionables in order to act on that. And then there are days probably with whom a leader with whom you are very very comfortable discussing your personal issues, your very family related thing, to whom you can reach out. So please, and it need not be only your mentors. I would always recommend develop a much more wider network of your peers, because if they are at the same level, there could be fantastic things and very different things that they could have done, from which you can always learn. So it is always recommended to have as many mentors as possible, because you never know where somebody could become a sponsor for you, where somebody could give you a very new career path, which is probably more suited to you at a different stages of life. Something that, like, what I have done in the last few months, and probably continue to do that. So I would say no, it is definitely recommended to have multiple mentors.
For in my case, as you rightly said, most of my actually I have male allies mentors. I don't have
Uh-huh.
a women mentor yet. I'm yet to find a
Uh-huh.
women, but I have a powerful women mentor at my home, my mother. So every day I have a habit of going and saying, "This happened. He irritated me, or she irritated me. This is what happened." I was so she used to actually guide me well how to handle it, how to not react,
Absolutely.
how to observe it. So I used to be sometimes I used to tell her, you if you were in corporate, I think you would have gone much bigger places than me, because I don't know. The answer always amazes me. She used to tell me, it's not about I know things, I know you. So she will
Hmm.
say, maybe I know you. That's why it's not about wherever you are. Maybe I'll be able to tell how to handle a thing because I know my daughter. So that always gives me a feeling that you need to choose a mentor who knows you. That is also very, very
Exactly.
important. And also another
Absolutely.
mentor I have told in multiple forums also, Ramesh Natarajan. He was a Reddington. He's the Reddington CEO now. I
Hmm.
was reporting to him in Reddington, my Reddington days. So still he is a mentor to me. Whatever, he knows me pretty well. He has seen me in the growing role of manager to a leader role. So he also rightly guides me, rightly tells me whenever I'm switching a job. Also, I go and sit with him, understand whether this will suit me, not suit me, and all.
Correct.
He recommend well. So as you rightly said, that's possible. Peer learning, and similarly, I used to learn from a lot of my friends, colleagues, sisters, cousins, to just to know like what they do, right? As you rightly said,
Correct.
it is not always the best practices you are learning. Also, you can learn like what should not be done also. So
Absolutely.
that's called
Absolutely.
peer
In fact,
learning.
one of yeah, yeah. In fact, one of the things, as you said, we kind of talked about our home. We find mentors at home. You talked about we find mentors. It could be our managers, our leaders from other realms, and all that. In fact, I remember one of the things. So for a very long time in my career, I'm a very I always prefer doing IC kind of roles because then I have the freedom of my creative liberty, focus on things that are a priority, choose my own working hours. So for a very long time I chose that. So the very first time, when I was kind of said that, more from a growth perspective, it is important for me to take up uh, the role of a people manager kind of a thing. So for in my first team that I did, it was a very small team of about three product managers with whom I kind of started. So a very interesting part was that I think that while I have done a lot of mentoring, coaching in an informal setup or even a formal setup, this was probably the first time when I was responsible for somebody's career, somebody's this thing. So the conversations were even more deeper. The engagement was much more closer, right? So I remember the point that I'm just trying to say here is that my learning over there was also kind of a very, very at a very different level, right? And when I was switching my next job, where I was expected to take up a much bigger team, actually, Cynthia, it was my team of that small team of two, three product managers whom I have led, who actually gave me the confidence that I think you should really focus more on your people engagement aspect because you just rock there, and probably because that was a role that I had not played so extensively before. Probably that was a strength also which I did not discover. But this
Got it.
was something as a feedback. I mean, a very important aspect of mentoring relationship is being very open about feedback. It's not only about giving; it's also a lot about taking.
Taking.
So that was a very, very, very interesting one and a very enriching conversations, which I have. And even today, I kind of go back to my teams and I have a very vibrant, a very important feedback which I got, which helped me to kind of focus on the next set of big things that I want to do as part of my next job. This was a few years back, but since you talked about it's a very, I would say, 360-degree, Cynthia,
Exactly.
not only above us and peers, but also with whom a lot of people whom we mentor or who are part of our team, from where we can learn a lot.
Very true, very true. So there is a concept called reverse mentoring, which is picking up, right? So
Correct,
as I told
correct.
that when Ramesh is my mentor, Ramesh also asked me to be his mentor on a lot of new age technology things which he wanted to learn and he wanted to understand. He always says that you're good in community building, you're good in social. Why don't you pass that knowledge to me? What is the new terminology in your jargons in your marketing? This thing. Why don't you pass those expertise to me? So that
Correct.
opened my eye on reverse mentoring. I do also the same thing. So when I came to Vajro to head the larger role of overall marketing, certain things like
Mm-hmm.
product marketing, performance marketing, I learned from the specialists or experts in my team a lot on the
Ah,
nuances,
okay.
technical aspects of
True.
it. So reverse mentoring is also very important. As you rightly said, that 360-degree is something very, very, very essential for anyone to get the complete benefit of a mentorship. So very well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And especially I do see this new generation is kind of thinking at looking at things, and things are changing so fast, not only from a technology wise, but just the way of doing things is changing every single day, every single week. So absolutely. I mean, and I think that was also one of the reasons, Sandhya, that mentoring startups, because most of these startups, we have
Yeah.
very, very young minds, right? So very recently I was I'm working with Karnataka State Chamber of Commerce, where we got 650 um, applications, business cases as part of a innovation startup that we are looking at, which is going to be funded. Can you believe across Karnataka we got 650, and I reviewed 75 of them as part of the cycle one. And it is just amazing the kind of thought process, the clarity, the drive this younger generation has. So it is very very mutually enriching.
Exactly. So we learn a lot also, right, in that process.
Correct.
So this is something I wanted to ask. It's a very nagging question for me always. So I wanted to know your personal experience on this. A lot of times I have seen women don't get satisfied with themselves. So they
Mm-hmm.
always live with a guilt or with a not pure satisfaction that they are not able to give the full in their home as well as they are not able to give full in the organization, and they
Right.
feel that I could have done more there, I could have done more here, am I still doing enough? That is making them not to step up and ask for leadership roles, not to really confront the gender bias happening around them, or promotions denied because of these those things. They are not able to really go up and stand up for themselves because they themselves lose the confidence that they are doing injustice in both the ways, right? So here I always feel it is very important to see someone who has done that, navigated that journey successfully, and gain the confidence that I'm also doing that, right? So in your experience, how you have overcome this, and what do you suggest for the younger generation?
Sure, and very, very well put question. And it is actually scientifically proven, right? When you show a JD to a woman versus when you show a JD to a man, if the woman doesn't feel that she's kind of, checking the list for at least 90% of the job requirement asked, she wouldn't even apply it. Versus a man, even if he's 50 to 60% ticking
You
on
will.
the box, they would apply it, right? So it is kind of scientifically
I,
proven.
I, I exactly quoted this example to the episode before.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because this is something we all live with, and I wouldn't lie, right? I mean, this is something I have personally, as part of my own career growth. There are a lot of times when I am so critical about myself. And in fact, in one of the junctions, this was a few years back, when I had my second baby. There was a time when I have two kids. My older one was at that point of time about 6 years old, and my younger one was just born. And I came back after 7 months of maternity leave. Yeah. As soon as I came back, I was kind of, just raring to go. I mean, it was multiple things. One is that, oh my God, I have lost 7 8 months of good work that I was could have been doing. This could The anxiety, could this affect my next promotion? Then there is the aspect that, hey, I want to take up, probably if I take up sign up for a role, so that I can very well manage my family, the new needs in the family versus work. Will people say that, oh my God, now she cannot stay back later in these things? So somewhere in that confusion, what I did was that I signed up for a product project which was kind of very aggressive in nature, right? 1 month, 1.5 months into that, something which was already signed up for disaster, I couldn't manage it, right? So it and I was kind of inflicting myself with that self guilt, saying that, oh my God, why are there are only 24 hours? I was working crazily, like 15, 16 hours a day. And then the remaining waking hours were spent with the newborn baby, which was a very natural this things, right? And for the next, I think, couple of weeks, I was just these things. I said, I just don't deserve to be here, I don't do this and all that. And then in the end, what I did was that I kind of took up my resignation letter. And I was, all decided that, okay, in the next 1 week, I don't think I can manage this. Let me focus on just the home part first, and these things. So it was at that point of time, there was another senior colleague with whom I used to kind of share a lot of different things. So I said, okay, let me just have a chat with her, before I kind of decide anything.
Yes.
So at that point of time, she was one of the people, who was kind of very sorted, who wouldn't rush into things. And that is one thing she said. She said, see, you have to accept the fact that there are different priorities in life at different points of time. You need to decide when you need to spend more time where. And it is absolutely fine. It's your own journey. You are not competing with anybody else,
Right.
right? It's your own journey. So this, and there is only this much of time, and there is only, you need to give that time which is needed for that particular task at that point of time, right? So she said, and for that you don't have to compromise on your work or things like that. She said it is okay to take some time off, so that you can sort things out and focus. That will happen only when you ask for it, right?
Exactly.
Nothing comes to you if you do not ask for it. And that actually stayed with me, Sandhya. And what I did actually after that was that instead of going back to my leaders and managers saying that I'm resigning, I actually asked saying that there are things that needs to be taken care at home, and I think I'm not able to do justice taking up a very aggressive timeline project versus managing two small kids at home. So I needed some time off, and it was so I would say it's surprising for me that I was actually given a sabbatical for next 6 months, saying that please sort things out, and when you come back, we will have make you choose what kind of a project, what kind of a work that you want to choose, so that you can manage your work life balance. So even today I feel that I could, just because I asked it, I was given. Probably if,
Correct.
right? So always ask for it, and before you take those decisions, ask folks around you, whether it is your mentor, whether it is people whom you trust at work or in your sphere, because unless you do that, it is never going to happen. Now furthermore, I mean, so that has been something very focused. There have been times when for example, when I took up my new role as a product manager, and this was exactly after 6 months when I came back, I signed up for a new role as a product manager. And actually the next 2 to 3 years, because it was a new ramping up role, it was a brand new product, it actually required me a lot of late nights and stuff like that. But I think by then the things were set up in a rhythm, and I could actually give a lot more hours, and actually I ended up landing that promotion in the next year. So it helped me to kind of balance that. But I would say that don't don't be so self critical, right? There is always opportunity coming your way. This opportunity which has come today is not going to be the last one, right? And at the same time, know what is that you love to do, what gives you the happiness. Because again, uh, go with the confidence, I would say. There are folks who have done that, and one thing which I would definitely say is that a lot of times it happens, right, that when you are so much divided between work and especially with the family affairs and these things, is that your mind tend to be a lot more distracted. I think that is something we need to figure out. What is the best way that I can come over with? Is it building a to-do list? Is it having some focus undistracted time wherein I can do some work? Because that helps you to maximize your productivity, right? So figure out what are the kind of life hacks that works for you, and those are the areas where you can reach out to your mentors and say that, hey, what were some of the things that work for you? Like for example, when somebody comes in, this is a very common question that always comes to me, saying that how do you've kind of done 20-25 years in your career in this things. For me, one thing that always works is that delegate. For example, anything and everything in the house that can be delegated, which I do not think is worth my time. For example, cooking may not be true for a lot of people, but I am somebody who don't
That's true.
enjoy cooking something, so cooking greatly. So that has been completely outsourced in the last 15-16 years. I don't think I have done very active cooking, right? So all I'm trying to say is that ask for help, delegate wherever you think you are not adding much of the value, and it is your journey. There are times when you can go really fast, there are times when you have to pause, when you have to go slow. But don't kill yourself, guilt about yourself, and always ask for help, whether it is your spouse, whether it is people at work. And that is the only way people will kind of empathize with you, and they'll be able to appreciate that. So for me, there have been so many leaders, especially now we see more and more women leaders coming up, who have kind of done that. They have I'm kind of so I would recommend everybody to read Indra Nui's biography, because I was completely floored with that, the way she has been able to manage. Of course, there she has kind of made some compromises on the family front and stuff like that, but in the end, she has raised two very independent, strong girls. So I would say, it is all about the it is not about the destination, but it is about the journey. So enjoy it, and there are always those trade-offs that we need to make, but don't feel guilty about it.
Very well said, Malati. I think this will be resonating with a lot of people. So that's why we need mentors like Malati who can guide us in tough times. Malati did the right thing, right? She went and asked for a colleague's help or senior leader's help, who was able to open her eyes at that point of time. So she took a
Correct.
sabbatical and came back, and now in the longer run, right? My mentor also always says, in the longer run, when you look back, it all will get normalized.
Correct.
So it'll
True.
be like it's always like sometimes it'll be higher, sometimes will be lower, but overall if you look back, it'll be all fine. So
Correct.
the only thing we should not do is stop running.
Correct.
We can slow down, we
Absolutely.
can walk, sometimes we can take a break, but we have to continue. That's
Correct.
the life, right? So never drop a ball. That's what I always think, and that's what Malati also told in the end. So it was an amazing show, Malati. So just to sum up, some of the quick tips for people to keep it in their mind while finding their mentors and where they can find mentors.
Absolutely. So I would say, I mean, first of all, own your career, right? And in order to own your career, and how do you aspire to grow? Look for role models around you. This could be somebody within your own BU. This could be within your, within your organization, different BU, different geography. So don't hesitate to reach out to them, right? If you have any of those role models within your organizations, don't wait for a formal program to come into existence and give you a platform to connect with you. You'll be summarized. And I mean, just reach out to them. This could be a simple email, this could be a simple text, whatever is the right mode of communication that works with you. So, first of all, outreach to your mentors is very important, who you think can help you in certain ways. So, before that, I would say, even one step before that, to reach out to your mentors is to be yourself aware. Where do you need really help? Whether are there certain competencies, are there certain situations, are there certain skills where you think you need gaps? So I think being self-aware is very important. Based on that, you need to look around within your organization to see, are there folks whom you think who can help you? This could be male leaders, this could be female leaders, whomever you think you kind of look up to. The second thing I would say is that make use of any of the formal mentorship programs that you have. Don't wait for somebody to ask you. Just raise your hand and sign up for it. You never know what could be some of the wonderful relationships that you could foster, and you could build relationships for life. The second thing I would say is that why only build your network within your organizations? Look beyond your organizations. For example, if you're somebody who's working in a services organizations, look for other financial services organization. Look up to, I mean, now it is so easy to have a database. Look up to LinkedIn or any other platform where you can find more details about them. Attend conferences, and those would be some of the areas where you could probably find your prospective mentors, right? And always it is just a matter of probably sending that LinkedIn request. It is probably just a matter of so many of us are in different WhatsApp groups where we will find different like-minded people who are in the same profession, or who are in same kind of services that somebody is delivering, or same profession. So that would be the other thing I would say, is that if there are specific areas, for example, since I come from a product management thing, there are so many volunteer driven communities where you can actually find, for example, if you're looking for a product leader to be your mentor, there are so many Slack channels, there are so many online communities. So just hop on to one of those communities and build those relationships. The only thing that I would really like to leave in terms of the question that Cynthia asked, is that it is probably not that difficult to find a mentor, but I think it is even more important to stay committed in that and maximize the output or the outcome that you can get from that particular relationships, right? See, mentors are definitely, they can give their time and advice and guidance, but how do you maximize those learnings? How do you take them back and apply them to your own daily lives, or the situations where you need to apply them? I think that is the important part of it. So whenever you are thinking of looking for a mentor, make sure that, if especially if you're getting into some kind of a formal or an informal setup of mentorship, make sure that you have the time available. Be respectful of their time, and make sure that you're kind of prepared, because otherwise it will probably not yield the kind of benefit that you can really extract out of it. So so I would say the only person who can stop yourself from finding a great mentor is yourself. So don't just come out of that, be self-aware, and just look around you, whether it is offline, online, in a different region, in a same department, in a different department, another organization, through a conference. There are plenty of modes that you can find a mentor. um, yeah, those would be some of the things that has worked fantastically for me. And it is really amazing, Sandhya, that how people are more than willing to pay it forward, and being helpful, to spare some time, and share their own advices and guide folks who are looking for mentorship. So I think those would be some of the things that I would advise.
Each one, as amazingly summarized by Malati, as each one will have their own strength and their weakness, and they need to know how to manage their weakness and maximize their strength. So this is
Correct.
applicable for finding the mentor also, and leveraging
Right.
their association also. See, I love to learn from multiple people. So
Correct.
this podcast is a way for me to learn actually. So I host multiple people and I learn from their journeys. That gives me a confidence when I go and mentor someone. So I want to
Correct.
learn from a lot of mentors what they are doing. So a lot of lessons comes to me so that I can pass on to people. So that's my way of learning. Uh, and another important thing which everyone need to understand is mentoring is not like a tick mark activity. Okay, I have like a certification, I need to have one mentor to find one job. It's not like that, right? So a lot of people does that.
Correct.
Okay, I need to have one mentor now because they're asking me who's my mentor, and my mentor can get me job. This is another wrong myth. So they will be
Correct.
thinking like that also. Okay, I'll go and associate, because a lot of people I have seen ask me to be their mentor, and in the second conversation they will end up in asking job to me. So they use
Hmm.
that as a tool to come and ask for the job. So that's not
Yeah.
a tool to get a job,
Correct.
or that's not a certification to complete and go to
Correct.
get a job. It's nothing to do with the job. It's to do
Correct.
with how you craft yourself and craft your journey both personally and professionally. So that is
I
something
agree.
you have to do on your own, and you have to leverage. It's nothing to showcase. It's not for a showcasing or for an opportunity. It's just a learning method. That's how I would take it. This is what I feel. So thank you, Malati. It was an insightful session. I honestly enjoyed the show, and especially the last two questions. Your answers were amazing. Thank you once again for coming into the show, Malti. And the same show is getting going to stream in LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. So watch out for this, guys. Thank you. Until I come up with the next interesting guest, this is India signing off from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. And it was so much of learning from your side for me, So you get to talk to so many wonderful people. So fantastic learning, some of the key learnings for me as part of this conversations. And again, thank you so much for having me here, and look forward to, continue our collaboration.
Same here. Thank you, Malati. Thank you.